Ever feel like you're just stuck in that work cycle? Just pushing hard.
Yeah.
But not really getting where you want to be.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So today,
It's a struggle.
we're diving into a chapter from Paul Robinson's When We Get It Wrong.
All right.
And we're going to be looking specifically at this whole idea of hard work versus smart work.
Yeah, this is a classic debate, isn't it? And Robinson goes beyond, I think, a lot of the kind of cliche work smarter, not harder stuff.
Right.
To offer some actually really interesting nuances.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to unpack some of the key insights from this chapter.
Okay.
So you can actually use these ideas in your own work and for your own goals.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's start with just getting clear on what we even mean by these terms, right?
Yeah.
Hard work, smart work, because they get thrown around a lot.
Right.
But what do they actually mean when we're actually trying to do stuff?
When I think of hard work, I think of someone like burning the midnight oil, putting in the hours, really grinding it out.
Yeah.
That no pain, no gain mentality. It's really all about that raw effort and dedication.
And Robinson acknowledges that, right? That hard work is absolutely vital, but he makes this point that it's not the only ingredient for success.
Yeah.
Think about an athlete training for the Olympics. They're putting in insane hours, pushing their bodies to the absolute limit.
Yeah.
But they also have coaches, right?
Right.
Who are helping them to refine their technique and strategize their training and maximize their performance. So it's the hard work gets them in the game, but the smart work is kind of what helps them win.
So the coach in that analogy is the smart work element.
Exactly.
Guiding the talent and the effort in the right direction.
Yeah. And Robinson talks about how we often see people, working incredibly hard, but they're not getting the results that they deserve.
Yeah.
And that's where that smart work piece comes in.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit more. What does Robinson say that actually looks like? What is smart work?
He breaks it down as leveraging your resources, knowing when to delegate, and finding the most efficient path to your goal.
Okay.
It's about being resourceful, not just relentless.
So instead of just putting your head down and powering through something, it's taking a moment to think is this even the best way to do this?
Yeah.
Are there tools or resources that could make this easier or more effective?
Exactly. It's like choosing to take the scenic route.
Okay.
Versus the highway.
Yeah.
Both will get you to the destination.
Right.
But one's going to take you a lot longer and be a lot more taxing.
And I think so many of us get stuck in that, taking the scenic route.
Yeah.
Especially when you're feeling that pressure to just get things done. But sometimes slowing down to assess okay, is this the right approach can actually save you time and energy in the long run.
Totally. He uses this really interesting analogy in the book. He talks about how constantly working late might seem like this badge of honor.
Right.
You're so dedicated. But it could actually be masking, poor time management or an inability to delegate effectively.
Interesting.
It's you're trying to carry all the groceries in one trip.
Right.
When you could easily use, multiple bags or a shopping cart.
Right. You're choosing to struggle instead of finding a better solution.
Totally. The smart work move there would be to analyze why you're always behind. Could you delegate certain tasks?
Yeah.
Could you streamline your workflow? Could you even restructure your whole approach to be more efficient?
So it's not about, glorifying the grind, but really being honest about your capacity and finding ways to optimize your effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And this leads into a key point I think that he emphasizes, which is it's not about picking sides. It's not hard work or smart work.
Right.
It's finding that sweet spot.
Okay.
That balance between the two.
So it's not an either or.
Right.
It's you need both ingredients.
Exactly. It's like a recipe.
Yes.
You need both to kind of make that delicious final product. To create something really good.
Exactly. You need the drive and the dedication of hard work, but you also need that strategic thinking and resourcefulness of smart work.
Yeah.
They work together.
And just a bad recipe can lead to some, not so good food.
Yeah.
I think getting that balance wrong can also have its own pitfalls.
For sure. Absolutely. And he talks about that too, right? With hard work, you have the risk of burnout if you're not careful.
Right.
You can push yourself to the point of exhaustion, which ultimately makes you less effective in the long run.
So even with the best intentions, if you're just relying on hard work and you're not paying attention, it can really backfire.
Totally. And then on the flip side with smart work, sometimes people misinterpret it as an excuse to be lazy or to cut corners.
So it's not about finding the easiest way. It's about finding the most effective way.
You got it. There's a nuance there.
Yeah.
That's important.
I'm sure.
He stresses the importance of self-awareness in this context. You know, it's like constantly checking in with yourself.
Am I pushing too hard and neglecting my well-being?
Yeah.
Or am I using smart work as a way to procrastinate or avoid the tough stuff? It's a delicate balance.
So how do we find that balance? Like, how do we know when to lean into the hard work?
Right.
And when to step back and be more strategic?
That's where things get really interesting, and that's what we'll be diving into next. He offers some really practical advice on how to find that sweet spot.
Okay.
And avoid those common pitfalls.
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we've talked about how important it is to find that balance between hard work and smart work.
Right.
But how do we actually do that? How do we know, when to just like buckle down and grind versus when to maybe step back and think, okay, how can I approach this differently?
Robinson brings up a really good point here, and it's this idea of momentum.
Okay.
No matter which approach you're leaning towards at any given moment, the important thing is to keep moving forward.
Okay.
Consistency is key.
So even if you're not working at like peak efficiency all the time, just the fact that you're consistently putting in the effort, whether it's hard work or smart work, that's what's actually going to lead to progress.
Totally. It's like pushing a heavy object,
Okay.
It takes a lot of effort to get it moving initially.
Right.
But once it's rolling, it becomes much easier to keep it going.
Okay.
The key is to avoid getting stuck.
Got it.
Or letting that momentum stall.
So even if you hit a roadblock or you stumble a little bit, the important thing is to kind of get back on track as quickly as possible and just maintain that forward movement.
Exactly. So in terms of actually finding that balance, between the hard work and the smart work, he offers some really practical advice, and he suggests starting by taking a look at a current project or a goal that you're working on.
Okay, so say I'm like totally overwhelmed with a project at work.
Yeah.
Where do I even begin to apply this whole like hard work, smart work balance?
He says, first ask yourself, are you relying too heavily on hard work? Are you constantly, burning the midnight oil, feeling stressed and overwhelmed? If so, that might be a sign that you need to incorporate more of that smart work into your approach.
Okay, so if I'm feeling burnt out, what are some actual steps I can take to be like, okay, I need to work smarter?
He recommends thinking about your resources.
Okay.
Are there tools or technologies that you could be leveraging to streamline your workflow? Are there tasks that you could delegate to someone else?
So it's about kind of being honest with yourself about how much you can realistically handle, and then finding ways to either like lighten that load or to, find more efficient ways to manage it.
Exactly. And sometimes smart work involves taking a step back and reassessing your entire approach to a project.
Okay.
Are you stuck in a rut doing things the way they've always been done, even if it's not the most effective way?
I think that's a trap that a lot of us fall into.
Yeah.
Especially in like work environments where there's so much emphasis on, putting in the hours in FaceTime. But sometimes like questioning the status quo and like looking for a better way to do things, that's actually the smarter move.
Totally. And it might even involve seeking out guidance or mentorship from someone who has a different perspective or expertise in a particular area.
That was a good point.
Sometimes a fresh set of eyes can help you identify those areas where you can be more efficient or strategic.
It's like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Right.
But if you want to go far, go together.
Exactly.
Sometimes collaborating or asking for help is actually the smartest thing you can do.
He also cautions against the other extreme, though.
Okay.
Where smart work becomes an excuse for laziness or procrastination.
Right.
He emphasizes that, true smart work still requires effort and dedication.
So it's not about just like finding the shortcuts or avoiding the hard stuff altogether?
Not at all. It's about being intentional with your effort.
Okay.
Making sure that every action you take is moving you closer to your goal in the most efficient way possible.
I love that. It's like working smarter, not necessarily easier.
Exactly. And one of the most valuable things I think that he says in this book is that this balance isn't static.
Right.
It's something that you need to constantly evaluate and adjust based on your circumstances and your goals.
So it's not about finding the perfect formula and then just like sticking to it no matter what.
Right. It's about being adaptable and flexible, knowing when to push harder and when to pull back, when to go it alone and when to seek support. It's a constant dance between effort and strategy.
And that goes back to that self-awareness piece.
Yeah.
Really being in tune with, okay, how much energy do I have today? What are my strengths and weaknesses? And making choices that align with my goals, but also like my well-being.
Exactly. And as you become more attuned to that balance, you'll not only find that you're achieving your goals more efficiently, but that you're enjoying the process more.
So it's not just about productivity. It's also about finding that place where you could be effective, but also feel good about the work you're doing.
Exactly. And that's where his final point really resonated with me. He argues that the most successful people, they aren't just hard workers or just smart workers.
Okay.
They've mastered the art of combining the two.
So they're not just, reaching the summit.
Right.
They're finding like the most enjoyable and efficient path to get there.
Exactly. And that's the ultimate goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
To achieve our goals in a way that feels both fulfilling and sustainable.
Absolutely. And it makes me think about the ripple effect of that too. Like if you're constantly striving for that balance, not only are you setting yourself up for success, but you're kind of inspiring other people to do the same.
It's about leading by example, showing others that it's possible to work smart, and still find joy and meaning in what you're doing.
So as we're kind of wrapping up this discussion, what is like the one key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
Ooh, good question.
For me, it's that image of finding that enjoyable and efficient path up the mountain.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting there. It's like, how do we get there?
Totally.
And I think that's really where that balance of the hard work and the smart work comes in. It lets us actually be productive, but also still feel good.
Right.
And like take care of ourselves.
And Robinson leaves us with this thought that I think is really interesting. He says, the people who really master both the hard work and the smart work, they kind of become these role models.
Okay.
Not just for like what they accomplish, but for how they accomplish it.
It's about the whole approach.
Exactly. It's about their mindset.
Yeah.
It's about their ability to find that sweet spot and then ultimately inspiring other people to do the same.
So to everyone listening out there, as you're working on your own goals, whatever those might be, remember, it's not just about working hard, it's also about working smart. It's about finding that balance, that rhythm that lets you actually thrive and achieve those goals.
Right.
But also, inspire the people around you.
I love that.
So go out there and conquer those mountains, but do it smartly.
Yes.